relatively low.
Let's go.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the replay. Well, so maybe first let's have a look at just random thing. Let's see how you do things, and maybe something is gonna pop through my mind, and if not, then we're gonna go through my list of all the things that.
No, see me moving my Overlord in? You told me to do that last time.
To move it to scout.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I'm doing that.
Okay, so I'm happy that you do it. So, all right, so let's. So the most important thing when it comes to mechanics for Zerg is 4SD. Let's see if you do it. 4SD is obviously select hatches and build drones. So if there's one thing you want to take away from this entire hour of listening to me blabbing, you can try to remember this, that Zerg should always spend the larva and build out of the larva all the time, and preferably drones if you're not being attacked, right? So whatever you do, there should be 4SD afterwards, right? So you send the overlords to scout, 4SD. You start injecting, 4SD. You start spreading creep, 4SD after you finish the action, right? So basically you should be spending larva every 5 seconds. Because otherwise you waste larva, or you waste potential to mine stuff or to have army, right? So the way Terran always has barracks building something, Zerg always has to spend the larva. That's why I like to have units tab opened instead of production tab, because you can track the number of larvae you have, right? And when you have 3 bases, you shouldn't ever have more than 9, because if you have 3 larvae at a hatch doesn't produce any more larvae. Right, so it's extremely important that this doesn't happen. What's happening right now, right? This action with this overlord is less important than spending the larva right now, right? So, running these links is less important than 4SD, or okay. Now
so is that like the hierarchy of actions? I guess like if you were to go down like a list, like 4SD should be number 1, and then if that's not available, then X,
Yes,
okay.
that's a very nice way to put it. Yes. Because ultimately StarCraft is a numbers game, right? So if you have more units, even if you micro badly, you're just gonna win, because you're gonna have initially more workers and then more units. Simple as that. Right? So ideally, when you look at the pro player at this moment, he would probably have 1 or 2 larva, or maybe 3 at max, right? So even after you spend your money, you still have 8 larva sitting around, right? So basically you should focus on anything right now. If you want to improve the most right now, time versus improvement, one thing you should improve the most is just literally spending the larva, right? There should be, until 10-minute mark, there should be no situation where you have more than 3 larva per hatch, basically.
Yeah.
So all the micro you're gonna do now is less important or less useful than spending this larva that's sitting around right now. And it's very bad right now because it's being wasted also, because you had 3, so you weren't really producing, right? The new larva, right? Okay, so maybe so that's the first one. The second one would be probably injecting, I think, and that's pretty much connected to spending larva, because you want to have as many larvae as possible, obviously, right? So what's your method of injecting?
It's a camera hotkey and box inject.
Yeah, that's I like that method. It's my favorite because it's most repetitive and most stable, right? It's always the same. So this means you can improve it and make it quicker and quicker the more you play it, right? So for example, because it's the same thing you do every time, right? F1 V, F2 V, F3 V, and if you do it 10,000 times or 20,000 times, it's just gonna get quicker and quicker every time. Okay, and what about your unit hotkeys then? How do you hotkey your units? How do you add them to control groups and stuff like that?
I hotkey them as eggs, if they're army units. And in this game, I have them all on the same hotkey. all my army. Sometimes I use a separate hotkey for a base defense group.
Mhm. So
and
you
if-
build units and then you add them immediately to control group.
Yeah, I control click the eggs and then add them to a control group.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So it seems to me like most of things that you do mechanically so far seem nice, right? Except maybe spending larva, right? But the methods you use are generally fine, right? So so this is type of stuff I was talking about. This is the methods pros are using. It's just you have to be faster. They're just faster and more efficient with that. Right?
And does one just get faster over time? Like, is there a kind of exercise to get faster, I guess, at it? Or is it just over time you get more confident at doing these?
Improvement in StarCraft and maybe even in sports in general happens when you focus on improving certain thing, right? So the problem is that if you play ladder, you have to focus on 10 different things, right? There's scouting, fighting, or even more, stuff. But that's why exercises are very useful, because this way you focus on one certain thing or two things, right? So for example, the exercise about APM and macro I'm gonna give just literally makes you focus on spending larva and injecting, and that's all, right? So but this way you make proper habits, right? So it's important. So all the mechanics are habits as well, right? So you make habits in controlled environment where you can focus on them, right? So playing just a lot, 10,000 games and stuff, it's just inefficient way to improve things. Much better way is to pick one thing and just focus on it and just continue trying to work on it. And once you feel like it's decent level, then you jump to the next thing, for example.